Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Airsoft Mechanics podcast. Today, this is actually our first episode of season 2, so we're gonna get that worked up today. It's just Ryan and I here, Ryan Fisher, Legacy Airsoft here today for this podcast. We're gonna be having a guest on our next one, though. We're gonna be switching back and forth. Kind of got a new format for this show. It's the same in-show format, but we're gonna have like a different guest schedule and a couple other things we're working on improving for you guys. So
Yep.
that's the story so far. But
Hopefully.
yeah, so we're trying to get video up for this podcast so we can have a video on YouTube and the audio on SoundCloud, so you can watch it or you can listen to it. If you're driving, you should definitely listen to it. If you're sitting around and teching at your desk, you can watch it and tech at the same time. I guess that's a little bit safer than driving and watching it at the same time. So
Yeah, I would not recommend watching it while driving.
I mean, misplacing a shim in a
You
DSG
do
build.
look pretty good.
I mean, misplacing a shim in a DSG build is pretty bad. I mean,
I agree, but I don't know if it's as bad as crashing your car.
probably not.
I mean, as good as we look as two handsome dudes, it's not worth it. You can wait till you get home.
All right.
But yeah, we are actually having a video chat right now. We just could not get the video recording function working this week, so hopefully we will have that sorted out by the next time we record. So we're looking forward to giving you guys video next week. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah. So that's the plan. And we're gonna get it to work because I want video, and pretty sure Ryan wants video too because it's so much cooler. We can do unboxings and we can do gun show-offs, so it'd be so much cooler. But without further ado, we're gonna jump right into it with our recent builds. So, do you want to go first, Ryan? Or
So did you want to go?
oh, I think yours is a
Yeah,
little more
awkward.
interesting, so I'll let you go first.
I can go. All right. So I have kind of, I guess, more of the same. I have the same list of all the crap I have to get done with the guns that I own. I recently just bought a Polar Star. So this is one of the things where I wish we had the video recording, so I can bring the gun up and show you guys what I did. But I just bought a used Polar Star Fusion engine, and I'm really liking it so far. I know it's kind of like heresy for me to buy another HPA system, but I can't complain with it. I really do like it. I will be testing it tonight, actually. I got it last night. I threw it in a GMP body with my so I took the DSG lower assembly off of my gun, threw the Polar Star and a GMP, a different GMP lower, threw that on and took it to BB Wars today. It was having a lot of feeding issues, but I think that was more of the mag and body, because when I filled with the mag, it would feed fine. So I don't think it was actually the FE. Plus, I bought it used, like I said, so it came with a red nozzle, which is the 500 FPS nozzle, and the CQB field I was playing at has an FPS limit of 300 with .3s, which is nowhere near 500 with .2s. So I had to play around with the settings and basically make it a very inefficient setup on a tiny barrel to get the FPS low enough with this red nozzle, which is not ideal. So I was also running the PSI at around 55, and the fact that it was feeding inconsistently actually probably has more to do with the fact that my PSI was that low. You're supposed to run it between 80 and 120. You can run it below 80, but usually when you do that, you have like a low flow poppet or a shimmy poppet and a red nozzle or a black nozzle, for example. And I ordered those from Amped. This is another thing I want to show you. I have the trimmed red one, and then I have a red nozzle, which it's length for the AK Masada, and I'm going to chop it down for a Scar L and throw this thing in my Scar, and then it should be all set to go. I will have more videos on it later. Other build-wise, I have my DSG, which is running flawlessly, except for the anti-reversal latch spring is worn out, so I'm having some backspin issues. So I could just turn up braking on the Spectre, and it would fix the problem, but I don't want to wear out the motor. So I have to open up to fix that, but then it's going back together. 416 is in pieces. I'm rebuilding it. I'm trying a mechanical hair trigger, which is something I don't like doing because it wears the trigger contacts out, and I have to replace them eventually, and then it's just tedious for me to do, so it's kind of a stubborn thing. Also, the fact that I have so many MOSFETs and hair trigger, like electronic hair triggers, it just doesn't seem right to me to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm rebuilding an AK from scratch. or I might send it to my friend Elliot, actually, because he wants to do it. I'm rebuilding an SR25, and I have another DSG build because I'm retesting the Retro Arms split shell, the newest generation they just put out on the market. So if you remember from way back when they sent me one to beta test, I tested it, I reviewed it, I gave them the specs, I gave them all the information they needed to make changes. They made most of the changes that I suggested, not all of them, but most of them, and they started redistributing the shells with these changes. They're going to send me one of them, and I'm going to do another review similar to the one that I did on the first one, testing it out, taking all the data down, sending it back to them, and then letting you guys know how they work. And I just talked for a really long time, so I'm going to let Ryan go.
No, you're fine. We have a lot we've been doing, so.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
For me, the most recent thing I've been doing, well, I've been working on two things, my Barrett and my newly found KWA CQR. Let me get down to the KWA CQR because I know people already don't like that, but, you know, KWA.
KWA, no.
But I got it for a fantastic deal, and nobody's going to be able to debate me on this one. Anyway, so for my Barrett, I've been trying to get it to the proper FPS. It's been giving me so much trouble.
You wasted $5.
Oh, okay. But my Barrett's been giving me like so much trouble. I'm looking at it in the corner right now in my room, and I just want to cry whenever I look at it because it has a 500mm barrel in it right now. Fantastic part setup. You know, just a great combination for a good DMR. Rocking a full cylinder M170 spring, you know, all that jazz. Low neck gearbox shell and hop-up unit and air seal nozzle and bucking. So that whole area there is meshing perfectly. I've checked it, and all the parts, you know, are the same brand, so that normally leads to better air seal and consistency. And with an M170 spring in it, is currently getting like 390 FPS, and I cannot figure out why.
You know what you should do?
What?
You should buy a Polar Star like me.
Oh, wow.
All your problems will be solved.
Wow. Well, I'll just send the Barrett to Elliot because he got that working too, and I even tried Elliot's solution and it didn't work. So I'm so confused.
We can just send all our guns to Elliot. He'll fix them all for us.
The only problem is with shipping this Barrett, it would literally cost more than like my leg. So it's as tall as one of my friends, and well, she's like 5 foot tall, but still, like it's pretty tall. It's seriously here. Let me grab this for you, Ryan.
All right.
Like
we have video, but you guys don't.
Everybody can't see this, but only Ryan can. That's the only person that matters.
Hopefully
anyway,
next week we'll be able to show you. Oh shit, that is tall.
It's like at my chin.
Oh my god. That's ridiculous. I want one of those now.
It's beautiful. Seriously, it's an amazing setup.
I need to join the You and Elliot club.
That's right. I think Corey had one for a while, but he sold it.
Isn't Elliot selling his too?
I think he wants to, and he was offered like $450 cash for it, which is
Oh, I can't pay that much.
Yeah. But like, you know, anyway, the Barrett's just gonna give me so much trouble, and I have a great part set up in it. I know I've tuned it right, and it just sounds beautiful. Like, hold on, I've got a battery in it, I think. So that has helical gears in it, so it's kind of whiny. Still need to disable full auto, but it works, and it sounds like
full auto Barrett. That tech.
It's just menacing, and I just can't get the FPS right. It's just killing me. And anyway, the next one I've got is my KWA CQR. I actually got this for $5 at Fallen Warriors Airsoft at their like vendor trading sale thing. And so this guy had it on like his counter for like where he was selling all the stuff. And it didn't have a buffer tube, and it didn't have a magazine, and that was it. And he was like, yeah, the gun's broken. I just can't figure out what's wrong with it. I'll sell it to you for $5. So I was like, well, the suppressor on the gun was worth more than $5, so I bought it. And I actually took it to my car, and I pulled out like the small bag of tools I carry with me, opened up the motor plate. Well, first I put in a battery to see what was going on. I pulled the trigger, and it was just, you know, locking up. So like it wouldn't do anything besides make a noise and movement in the motor, which means the motor's working, and it's getting electricity. It's just the motor's in backwards or the gearbox is locked up. So I opened up the bottom grip, and I noticed that the connectors were installed backwards. So I switched them back to the proper polarity, and the gun worked just fine. It even shot like 350 FPS, like right out of that. So I bought like pretty much I bought a working KWA for like $5. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. And that's what I've been working on. I did a basic build to it. I did a SSG build. Like, something like 35 RPS at like 330, and it's pretty cool. It gets some double shot. I need to work on that, but other than that, it's pretty great. And so, yeah, I basically built it out of spare parts, so there was no work there at all. Well, no money there at all, so.
Didn't you build another DSG recently, or was that this gun and you changed it back to an SSG?
It was this gun. I changed it back to SSG. Still, she's working fine. She's even got a pink cylinder in her.
Actually,
You're breaking up a bit.
did I buy these from SJ? I think it was from SJ on Instagram. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was from SJ. But I bought 2 motor armatures, an 18 and a 14 TPA, that I'm waiting for the right build to use. And I just kind of stopped teching because I got all caught up in this HPA business.
You should use the 18 TPA and a DSG.
See, I wanted to use the 18 or the 14. I don't know what, because I can use either one. It's just what gear ratio do I pair it with?
You saying like 14, the 14 TPA with a DSG?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be pretty fun.
Well, I might pull an Allen and then put like 20-to-1 8-tooth DSG with a 14 TPA motor, so it'll go like 60 RPS. It won't be ridiculous. But then I don't want to do that because then I'm like restricted to a 14 TPA motor with that slow of a DSG gear set.
You get pretty hot.
See, that's what I thought, but he said it ran fine because he has his own setup that he's running 20-to-1 8-tooth DSG on an M170 with a 14.5 TP or something around there. It was like the 4,500 RPM rated motor. And he said he's shooting around 60 to 63 RPS, and it's relatively cool. Like, it's not, doesn't have a huge amp draw.
That's interesting. I remember seeing that video now.
So I've been meaning to, I don't know what to do, because if RA sends me this next shell to test again, I want to test another DSG build in it, which means I have to buy another DSG build, which is more money in the pit. But I don't know what motor to pair it with, because I wanted a 9-tooth DSG for a while. But if I go 9-tooth, I might take the 28 TPA motor in my DSG right now, use that with a 10-to-1 9-tooth, and then recycle my 8-tooth DSG with whatever ratio gear set I want, and throw a different motor in it. So I'm playing around with all the ideas of how I'm going to build it, but that's later down the line. I have a lot more stuff to do.
I want to get a 9-tooth DSG. Like I've built them before, but I really want one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I've never built a 9-tooth, which is embarrassing. I just never, no one ever needed me to. I don't own one myself yet, so.
You sound very saddened by that fact.
I am.
The way you were looking down, you were just like, oh man, I've never built one.
Depressed face, but because I wanted to do also a bore-up DSG build, and I haven't done one of those yet either. I have kind of like a makeshift one where I modified a JG cylinder head, and I chopped it down to give me extra air volume in the current DSG build I'm running, but even that is still an 8-tooth DSG on a normal cylinder, so it's just giving me a little extra. It's not actually bore up.
So when I made a 9-tooth DSG, I wanted to just do some fun stuff. The person wanted me to bore up it, so I put a bore up cylinder in it, 9-tooth DSG, pretty heavy piston, and it was like a really low rate of fire gun. It was just kind of strange what he wanted. Anyway, I put this barrel in it. And like for those who can't see this barrel, it's about 8 inches long or so, and it was just like the Joule creep was crazy. I can't remember what it was, but it was crazy. 9-tooths are so much fun.
Yeah, that was something I was today when I was chronoing my Polar Star. I had not, so like I told you, my field limit it's 300 FPS with a 0.3 gram, and I had just got the Polar Star in the mail like last night, the night before. So I really, really quickly played with it. I got really low PS, like the lowest PSI I could still get the gun to cycle with and like feed most BBs. And I played around with the settings, and I got it to the point where it was shooting 335 with 0.25 grams, which was the best I could do. And then, however, I brought it in, and I realized that I was using a tiny barrel, which longer barrels will Joule creep better than tinier barrels, but it's much much easier to Joule creep a tiny barrel because it's easier to over volume it. With a Polar Star, I never used the fusion engine before. So the first thing I thought when he went to Chrono with a .3 was, I was like, oh, sweet, please don't Joule creep, because it would have been way over the limit if it creeped. And then it creeped a little bit, but not nearly enough to get me over the limit. So I was very lucky. But because I haven't played around with the settings enough to really know what they do, I had like one night of exposure to them. So like even if it creeped a little bit, I would have probably turned the poppets well down as far as I could have, so it still would have fired. But like that wouldn't have done much. I wouldn't have been able to use it today, which would have been depressing. But I guess now is a good time. We'll transition to the next topic. That took a while, but it's kind of our. I guess Ryan and I talk a little bit about our YouTube channels in the future. Both of us go. So Ryan's in college now. He's a freshman in college. I'm a senior in high school, so I'm not in college yet. But I happen to go to a boarding school. So yeah, screw you. but I go to a boarding school, so I'm kind of on that like college schedule, that time frame. So neither of us have a lot of free time to make videos, let alone make videos together. Now, he's away in a dorm room, and I'm in my campus library doing homework until 12 every night before I go home. And we both kind of only have this time to do videos during our breaks. However, we do plan on doing these videos during our breaks. I know I have a lot of things lined up for my channel, which I need to get some personal affairs out of the way, which take precedence over YouTube, sadly. However, I do have a plan for my channel, both this break and I have another break in March. I know Ryan has this break, assuming he has the March break too on the college schedule. He might not. If we do, we plan on continuing the podcast. We also plan on featuring our individual channels. So I know I am going to revive a question and answer video scheme that I had. We're going to continue the podcast. I'm going to make more of my teching videos now that I have more free time to tech. I'm going to do a combination of walkthroughs and tutorials, just videos of me teching on guns, just so if you guys want to see it, you can. If you don't, get rid of it. And I'm also going to do a segment where it's more of me just talking and ranting about things Airsoft, and I'll put teching footage in the background. So, for example, those of you on the forum I moderate or on the AirsoftTech and Q&A Facebook group, which now Ryan and I both help admin. It used to be just Ryan. But I had a write-up there recently all about Joules, Joule creep, and more along the lines of HPA guns in particular, because there's a lot of confusion about how those works. And one of the things, as an example, on my YouTube channel, I'm going to do a video where I basically audibly talk about that and visually show you what I was talking about in that write-up, have more like a visual aid for people that learn better that way. So that's just one example of the things that I'm going to start doing on my channel once I get these personal affairs out of the way, like applying to college, for example, which sadly is much more important than an Airsoft video.
Go to Marshall University. Best decision ever.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Is that where you go by chance?
Oh, yeah.
One of the schools I might go to, actually, I'm applying to RPI up in New York, and that's where Charlie goes.
Oh, really?
I forgot about that. So if I happened to go there, I would go to college with Charlie, which is weird because he never talks to us anymore because he's too cool.
He's too cool. He's too cool being smart. It's okay. But yeah, like Ryan said, we're both really busy individuals, and that's like almost a really overused and kind of pathetic excuse. But it's not, because we both are busy. Like it's not we're not really just making it up. Like. We have personal lives, we have academic, pursuits, endeavors, and I know Ryan does sports stuff, and I used to be big into sports, and now I'm not so much anymore. I'm more or less working constantly. Like, I used to mow yards when grass grew, and now it doesn't grow anymore because it's winter. But as soon as that kicks back up, I get busy like crazy. So just everything thrown together really makes it hard to have time for videos, but we're really trying. I've been making videos for the past week. I actually made a couple videos, and I uploaded them recently. So one was on that toy gun scare, and that the Today Show did a report on, which was pathetic. And then there was another one on Air Seal, and then there was my loadout video that I made. So I made 3 videos, and I feel pretty proud of that. It's Christmas, it's winter break, and I'm making YouTube videos as opposed to playing Xbox Halo 5, I guess. I don't know. And Fallout 4.
I just got Fallout 4. I haven't taken it out of the package yet because I'm afraid once I do, I'm never gonna like leave my basement.
Okay, so when I got Fallout 4, I sent a picture of it to like one of my friends. I was like, I'm sorry, and they were just like, wait, are we ever gonna see you again? I was like, probably not. The game is pretty great, I will say. Like that's just a side tangent.
Probably not.
Like this is like a side tangent. Fallout 4 is amazing. It's a little glitchy, but it's really cool. There's just so much stuff you can do. But
I've never played any of the Fallouts, but I No Life, Oblivion, and Skyrim, and I played Morrowind with my friend when I was younger, and I love those games. So I'm very, very optimistic for what Fallout 4 is going to be.
Oh, you'll love it. I think you will. But like, as far as like YouTube channels and all that social media stuff goes, just we're really busy and we're working on getting better on it. But unfortunately, life, like Ryan said, takes precedence over Airsoft life. So Airsoft may be life, but it's only life until like 10 p.m. and then it's like, and then it's bedtime.
Airsoft is life.
So. But we're also working on getting this podcast to be video format, and if we can get a successful video format and audio format, where we upload the audio format to SoundCloud and the video format to our YouTube channels, and that goes successful and everybody likes that, we're probably going to move on to live streaming, which will be pretty great. But
that's in the future.
That's in the far future. That'll probably be like maybe summertime by the time we fix it up. We haven't really talked about it, but that's my best guess. So yeah, that's
like assuming everything goes as planned.
Pretty much, and assuming we don't get loaded down with stuff over the summertime as well. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with our channels. Ryan just got some editing software, so we're really proud of him there.
Joined the club.
He joined the Sony Vegas club, I believe it is.
Sony Vegas club.
It's pretty great.
I'm still learning how to use it.
Yeah,
I posted one montage on my channel where I used it, and then it got flagged for copyright for the audio that I used in the background as the music to the montage. So I was like defeated right away, but I'm working around it. I'll figure out how to use it properly soon.
I've been trying to get a little bit better with my Sony Vegas editing, and it's hard. Like Sony Vegas is really easy to use, but my problem is that I'm using Movie Studio, which is like a $45 software, and so I'm like, oh, this is a really cool thing I could do with my editing, and then I hit a roadblock, and Sony Vegas can only do so much. Like I have to get the better versions of Sony Vegas to be able to do the things I want to do, and so those are like $600 or $700. So unfortunately,
I have an older version of one of the nicer ones, so it doesn't have all the newest features, but it has some of the good features, so I'm hoping that I can learn what it can and can't do, and then take advantage of it.
Like, if you have an XYZ plane on it and a chroma key that works well, then you're pretty set. So...
yeah, I have some learning to do. And I've been trying to do that... Oh, a completely different side topic is that Jacob and I are trying to get done a SolidWorks type thing on our computers, which we both have SolidWorks, but we don't know how to use it very well. He knows how to use it far better than I do, and hopefully, again, this is all dependent on free time, that one thing nobody has, but we're hoping that we can start designing some internal parts in the future. In the far, far future, because we are way too busy. We still have to learn how to use the program properly. And I will be going to college soon. He's in college now, so this will be very far. And I know we talked to you about it too, Ryan.
Yeah, just leave me out.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I realized that when I started talking, and I introduced it as like a thing me and Jacob, but it's really me, Jacob, and Ryan. And then a little bit of some of our other friends too. But well, because you have SolidWorks yet? You don't have SolidWorks yet, do you?
I do. I downloaded it when I was at Jacob's house. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's why.
Jacob was like, "Here, let me get SolidWorks for you." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I got SolidWorks, and he sent me the TSG file. Because I was gonna take it to my dad's work, and my dad works at Special Metals, which is it's an alloy company in West Virginia. They produce like everything, like from military tank frames to like like nuclear bomb frames. They do all kinds of stupid stuff there. And so like they have a CNC machine there, and my dad knows the guy really well. So I was like, hey Dad, could I use the CNC machine to do this little thing? And he was like, yeah, probably. So he talked to the guy who works at the CNC mill, and he just retired like that week I was wanting to do it. And so my dad was like, well, you can't do it, sorry. I was like, wow. So I almost made a TSG.
That would have been awesome. But yeah, so that is something that, again, just like everything else we've been talking about, distant future, but it is in the works of plans that come. So hopefully everything works out the way we want it to, and it allows us to get through all of the plans we have. Because that's one of the big things with my issue with all this is that I always have so many plans and things I want to do, things I want to get done, and then life kind of hits you and you realize you don't actually have the time to do all that and do the things you need to do to function. So that's always a roadblock, but I'm hoping we can start getting over that.
Don't worry, it'll hit you when you get to college.
Huh?
It'll like that little punch you were talking about. That'll hit you when you get to college, like a big time.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That'll knock you on the ground.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. I have one more year.
But that's pretty much our.
I've applied to a couple. I still have more to apply to. I'm kind of dreading. I want to go and I don't want to go at the same time. And I'm realizing, like you and Jacob and everyone that are going there now, I'm the last one. I'm holding on.
I was the youngest in the Airsoft Mechanics group, the quote-unquote group.
Yeah, yeah.
Now you are. Ryan 6.9.
Yeah. Well, because Ryan 6.9, right? Well, I'm the youngest age, but I'm not the newest to the group anymore, now that we added Mitch.
Whenever we add somebody to the group, I'm just like, huh. Now because I was added like a year and a half ago, I think. I can't remember when. But whenever somebody gets added to the group, I'm like, huh, they think I've been here for like ever. They must think I'm really cool or something like that. And then they don't. then they realize I'm not really cool.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of like added.
Jacob added me, and he was like, hey, this Ryan Fisher dude's pretty cool. And then you and Corey were like, yeah, he is kind of cool. And he's like, I'm going to add him. And then I got a message on Facebook saying, you've been added to this chat. And I was like, oh, hello. I already known most of you.
I remember when you got added.
I did feel a little left out that I wasn't in that to begin with, because I think I knew all of you except for like Elliot and David at the time.
Yeah, and maybe
maybe Luke, but Luke doesn't talk in the chat anymore.
Luke doesn't talk to begin with. But like I think when you got added and like Zach was on, like he noticed you got added, he's like, when the heck did we add new people? And Corey was just like removed him.
Who is this kid? It's okay. I'm 18 now.
Old enough to party.
Kid. You can't get mad at me for being too young anymore.
I mean, I'm 19, so.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say I was older than you. I just said that I was no longer.
All right, so next section, a little discussion round.
So, at least we still do that. We're consistent.
Yeah, we're consistent. We consistently go off topic.
Consistently go off topic. Ramble about stuff.
Hey, I think we don't have much to talk about. We don't have much to blame ourselves there because our last podcast got like 1.2K views.
So maybe they like it.
Which is pretty good for a podcast that's like an hour and a half long. So.
Oh yeah, I thought people would have like tuned us out by then.
Yeah, right. Like put the earplugs in, switch over to something better produced. So.
What are these guys still talking about?
These guys are still like, they have a pulse. Wow.
They're still going over there. So I'm gonna try and take apart this polar star. Wish me luck.
Ooh, teching on camera. The pressure's on, man. Good thing there's no spring to pull out.
Only you can see it. They can't see it.
Yeah. Only I can see it. I can judge you.
Next, yeah. Give it like a play-by-play.
Alright, so next discussion is the so Ryan 6.9 is cutting in and out.
Ryan 6.9 is cutting in and out because his Wi-Fi is awful.
Wow, get good.
So we were going to talk about the Rotary Hopups, right?
Yes. Like, okay, so
That was the actual
you're breaking out. So I don't know where Ryan went. He disappeared. Maybe he'll come back to us.
Don't you worry.
Ah, here he is.
Alright, is Ryan back?
Ryan is back a little bit.
I fixed it. A little bit. I'll get there eventually. My Wi-Fi is a trip.
Uh-oh.
Alright.
I'll just edit that part out when,
Okay. That will work?
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it without the video just in case that was part of the problem with my connection.
Yeah, it probably was,
Not
like,
recording anyway.
too much,
Because I can fix that problem. The only issue is that I have to be in the room with my Wi-Fi router, because I'll just take the Ethernet cable and hardwire it into the router. But if we were doing video, I wanted to be up here, so if we do that next time, I'll just sit in my office and bring a gun down or something.
Okay.
And record there.
So, the next topic of discussion was the rotary hop-up units, and yep. I have the ICS hop-up chamber right in my hands right now out of my M16, and it's by far the only rotary hop-up unit that actually does it right that I know of, at least. So, like, the whole entire airsoft community has been on this huge, like, and they've been on it for a while, so it's nothing new, really, but they've been on this huge, like, fangasm, I guess you could say, over the idea of rotary hop-up units, like...
Pro in his love, pro in his life.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, anyway, like, I'll watch an Airsoft GI video, and, like, every single time they're reviewing a gun, and then they get to the hop unit, they're like, yeah, and the hop unit is a rotary-style hop unit, so it's automatically better than everything else in the world. Like, that's pretty much what they're saying when they talk about it. So, and the Airsoft community has learned to adopt this and just learned to automatically think that rotary hop-up units are just better because they're rotary, and, like...
What are you talking about, Ryan? Rotary is like a synonym for awesome.
Rotary is a synonym for awesome?
That's what it means. It means awesome hop-up unit. It's like a better one.
I thought Pro-Win meant awesome. Or is that Polar Star?
Nope, that's Polar Star.
Okay.
But Pro-Win also means, like, amazing. So when you have a Pro-Win and a Polar Star, it's an amazingly awesome system. And you have a rotary hop-up too, so it's like bonus points.
Yeah, you know what a Pro-Win hop-up and a Polar Star, like, equals?
What?
Jesus. You just get perfection.
Oh, you know what I should do? I should buy a Pro-Win hop-up for this new Fusion engine I have, and then post a bunch of pictures of it online.
You know what you really should do?
What?
With the retro arm shell Tom is sending you, you should take your SMP and put it in it.
Oh my god, I should. And then I should take the hop-up, the integrated RA hop-up, cut the pegs off that attach to the gearbox, put a Pro-Win hop-up in there.
You need to cut it off in the most obscene way possible. Like, take it to, like...
Don't even use a Dremel. Use like a hacksaw.
Yeah. No, use, like, bolt cutters. Just hack it off. So,
go ahead.
With rotary hop-up units, like, how they work is... It's obviously you have this rotary wheel at the end of your hop-up unit, or at the beginning, really, and you twist it, and it applies pressure. Like, this wheel normally gets more, like, the inside of the wheel, normally gets more and more thick as it twists, so it's pushing down on the arm ever so more that you go down on the rotary hop unit, and so it's applying more pressure. And the design of the rotary hop unit, like the way that twists, is a great idea, but because it allows the hop-up adjustment to stay where it's at more reliably when the gun is shooting and putting BBs through the hop unit, as opposed to a standard TM hop unit. However, what this does for, like, what most rotary hop units do is they make the arm go down at such an angle that it causes some inaccuracy, like it causes some accuracy issues. And so when, like, say I use a Pro-Win hop unit like a DSG, and I have not modified the Pro-Win hop unit at all, and I've just kind of like stuck it in there, you know, I've got my DSG rocking at 50 RPS, and I try to line up, and like some of them go pretty far, then other of them go left and right. Like it's just a shotgun blast basically. And so sometimes that happens because this issue that is with Pro Win or like rotary style hop units in general is that they apply pressure at odd angles, so you just get odd accuracy and consistency issues. I've seen it several times, and so that isn't to say that all rotary style hop units are bad. There's actually one that I know that's fantastic, and that's the ICS one. And the way it applies pressure is a bit different. It goes through two stages. You turn the wheel, and there's another bar that goes above the arm, and it just gets like it goes straight down at a parallel, like it is in parallel with the barrel, and it just goes straight down and pushes straight down on the nub as opposed to pushing down at an angle like a lever. And so the ICS one goes straight down, whereas a Pro one goes down like a lever does. So you get this weird angle on the Pro one, and you get this straight down pressure like you do on the ICS, and it just results in much better accuracy. And that plus the rotary style wheel gives you a fantastic accurate adjustments. And so the ICS one makes a click every probably every 10 degrees on the wheel, so you can get pretty precise with this thing. And the Pro one just kind of spins, though it's tight, it doesn't actually click into place. So that's the thing there. But that's my little rant, I guess you could say, on the rotary style hop-ups. Like, people always recommend them just because they're rotary, and they don't really understand the reasoning behind them and the flaw in a lot of them. So just something I want to bring up. I know people get good results with Pro Win, but if you take an ICS hop-up unit, R-hop it, and set it up against the Pro Win hop unit that has the same specs, like the same modifications onto it, I guarantee you the ICS one's going to be way more accurate and shoot farther and all this other stuff, just because it's designed way better. And so I know you can't really easily fit an ICS hop-up chamber in most guns. Like, it takes a lot of work to get it to fit, and sometimes you just won't get it to fit. So it's really restricted for ICS guns to work flawlessly. But, just not all rotary hop units are fantastic. I made an Instagram post about this the other day, and my header for it was, not all rotary style hop units are created equal. So it's really true when you think about it, though. So
yeah, just to add on to what Ryan said and kind of visualize it a little bit, I actually like rotary style hop-up units a lot. I like the idea, I like the concept. In my experience, they hold their position better, they're easier to make and maintain, they're easier to modify and make arms for. That's something I've done, is I've made my own. I had 3D printed arms made, which is it's much easier to do than with the TM style geared hop-up. But there is the major flaw of what happens is that, like Ryan described, the way it works is you turn the wheel. There's the hop-up arm, which is, think of it as like a lever, or think of it as like a thin plank of wood, and you have a big wheel. There's a cutout in the wheel, and the thin plank of wood fits in that cutout, and as you turn the wheel, the cutout shifts its position on the wheel, and that turns the rear end of the plank of wood up or down. And now the plank of wood is bolted in by a pin, and that's the pin that holds your hop-up lever in place. So what this does is it pivots on that pin. So if the plank of wood, if the rear end goes up, the front end goes down, and vice versa. And now to visualize this, the best way to show the problem in this is think of a seesaw, like an old playground seesaw with your friend, how it pivots in the middle. When you go up, he goes down. When he goes up, you go down. Now, look try to picture this in your head of just your friend's end right now. Now picture him at a very, very top spot, now slowly going down. And what you'll notice is that the end of the seesaw, it creates a semicircle. If he was to keep going, it's not straight up and down. So what that means is that the farther down he goes, the less actually contacts the ground. And just to further visualize this, when your friend actually hits the ground, only the very, very corner of the seesaw is what hits the ground. That's what happens on your hop-up when you use these hop-ups. When you turn the hop on, the hop-up nub actually gets more and more angled to the point where only a bit of it, or it's not as extreme in a hop-up, it doesn't move that much degrees to actually kind of exploit this flaw even more than it does. But what happens is that your hop up moves down at an angle. When you push this lever down, it's not moving straight down. So the actual contact area gets smaller and smaller the more you turn the hop up on, and it gets more angled and skewed than it would be. Now, just to further like what it should be, think of when your friend on the seesaw is at the perfectly even position with you. He's parallel to the ground. Now, if you were to use this as your hop up arm, when it's parallel to your barrel, now put a nub on your barrel, and that would be the ideal spot where you want your hop nub to now go up and down and adjust for more or less hop, because this is what creates the pressure you put on your hop. So if you're at this perfectly parallel place with the barrel, this is ideal. It's not creating any problem. It gives you the maximum amount of surface area that the BB will contact the nub and the bucking. Once you go down with these rotary style hop ups, it gets less and less and less, and it just makes more of an inconsistent setup, because that's the whole reason why we flat hopper our hop, is to get more surface area and more consistent setups. So it can be used. It's just a flaw in it that makes it not reach the potential that it could be used at.
Also, just a little thing you want to input. The Pro-Win hop-up unit is actually not CNC'd. So people that say it's CNC'd, it's not. It's cast out of some aluminum. I have a tech friend who can actually confirm this with like data, but I know from him that for certainty that they're not CNC'd. So, people that say it's CNC'd, it's not. And furthermore, why would it matter? It's not like your hop unit takes a spring hit like your gearbox shell does. So, anyway, just a little tidbit. But yeah, like the difference between the two, like the rotary and like the standard hop unit, is that one applies pressure at a weird angle and the other one applies pressure at a much more flat angle. So it meshes way better and you get way better consistent shots due to that better contact, which is, like Ryan said, is the whole reason why we flat hopper our hop, just because it works better with more contact. So it makes no sense to make less contact. So the rotary wheel might be great and all, but the way that the arm is set up is flawed. And so the only hop unit that I know of, like I said, that does it right is the ICS one. So if somebody knows of another one that does it right, please tell me, because I'd love to put them in like all my guns.
Yeah, I would buy them instantly.
As long as they were, decently well, as long as they weren't like D-Boys plastic, hop units.
What's wrong with D-Boys?
Everything, like your first gun.
Everything's wrong with D-Boys. I love D-Boys as base guns.
I think their Scar is their best one, though.
That's what I have. But that's my issue, is until I recently made my DSG, which was my from scratch build, where I didn't have a base gun. I just bought every piece, internal and external, separately and put it together. Until that, every single gun I owned was a D-Boys or an A&K base. And I didn't do that intentionally. I have an A&K SF-25, an A&K Masada, a D-Boys Scar, a D-Boys 416, and an A&K SPR, which I then scrapped, and that became my new GMP DSG. Like, it didn't actually become, none of the parts transferred over. I just got rid of that gun and then built a from scratch build, and then I have a D-Boys AK. So every single gun except for the one that I had no base gun, I just bought pieces online individually and put them all together.
See, I really want to do that, but I'm probably going to do that when I get out of college and have more money. So, yeah. But my guns are
like it.
My guns are all like JG, KS for my KSP90, the Snow Wolf Barrett, my KWA, my Crossman AK that I still have actually, and yeah, that's and my JGG36, which is pretty awesome, and my JGG3. Oh, and my King Arms Blazer. I've got that one too. So
a little more diverse.
Yeah, I'm pretty diverse.
Just a bit.
But that's our little short discussion there on the Pro-Win. Well, not necessarily exactly the Pro-Win, but the rotary style hop units. And if anybody has any questions on that, feel free to message one of us or comment below. We'd be glad to help you out on that. Ryan's probably a little bit better on answering messages than I am. Just because
depends.
just because I know how he is, like sometimes he's just a lot better at that kind of stuff. So Plus, he's a moderator in Airsoft Society, so I bet he gets a lot of questions, and he has to be good at replying. So but yeah, that's our short discussion. So we're going to move on to Q&A. So if you guys remember, what we do for this is we pick a commonly asked question that we get asked all the time, and we just answer it. So plain and simple, really. So my question is a question that I got asked recently, and I think we might have answered it in a previous podcast, but I'm not exactly sure. So let me find it. I have it in my notes. I should have had this out.
God. Alright. I do think, what did I have? So I do have something I want to talk about, but I also don't want to go on a rant about it, and I feel like I would, which is not my intention.
I mean, you can go on a rant all you want, but I mean, it's up to you.
Well, I don't want to take too long about it, though, because it's something that I was going to do a video on my channel about anyway, so maybe I can give like a really, really quick introduction to it. Which, okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Joules and Joule creep and how it relates to HPA guns specifically, because where I'm venturing into the HPA world myself more now than I used to, it's becoming more apparent to me. I've done the research on it. Most of it's just physics that I learned in school, actually, but I've done some extra research on it. I know most of what I'm talking about, and it was more prevalent a little while ago when fields were like banning HPA guns, and what it came down to is that's because they didn't know what Joule creep was, or what Joules really even were in some cases. And I got a lot of questions on Airsoft Society and Facebook mostly about like why is this happening? Why are the guns being banned? Is this legitimate? Is this true? Or is there more to it that the field owners are just getting wrong? And it's not happening as often as anymore. However, from what I know, I'm talking about like fields who either banned HPA guns or they limited HPA guns to a different FPS limit than all the other guns on the field. And even that, it's like a step in the right direction, but it's still not right because of the way they chrono the guns and the way they do it. Is you got the same problems. So the gist of it is that yes, that's like the banning and the limiting. It's actually not a legitimate thing, and the reason behind it is because field owners don't understand what Joule creep is, and the premise of this goes down: Joule creep affects HPA guns far more substantially than they do AEGs for one reason, and that's the volume of air or volume of gas, in the example of gas blowbacks, that you have at your disposal when firing these guns. And again, I'm trying to not talk too much about it. It's a hard topic to not really go into and explain, because the reason why it's so popular is because people don't know about it and they need it to be explained. But I'm going to have I had a write-up on this on Facebook, a write-up on my forum. I know some people don't like to read through mountains of text and learn from it. It's not how they work. So I'm trying to do a video on my channel about it. But like really, really quickly, the premise of Joule creep, the source of Joule creep is volume, and it's air volume, and it's having more volume in your cylinder assembly than your barrel and BB need. And that's why it's much easier, sorry, not much, it's very easy to do in HPA setups, because naturally with the air tank in line in your dwell settings, and with FEs you have the pop a dwell in as well, which allows air down your barrel, you can actually, with the touch of a button or the turn of a dial, you can over volume your setup dramatically. And what this does is it allows you to do to take advantage of what Joule creep is. Now, AEGs are naturally limited. AEGs usually have very little, if any, Joule creep, unless you purposely build it with that in mind, or you accidentally put the wrong parts together, and you end up getting a Joule creeping setup. The premise of this is you want to over volume your setup. So to push a BB down a barrel requires a certain amount or a certain volume of air. That the amount of air your gun has is determined by the size of your cylinder. Those ports on your cylinder, that's what they're for. They're for volume matching. You're supposed to buy the cylinder that has the port that matches the barrel and BB you'll use. So it has the correct amount of volume, and it pushes the BB down the barrel. If you have too little air, it will not be able to accelerate the BB all the way to the very end of the barrel. It might get it 3/4 of the way or half the way. It's not going to stop moving there. It's going to stop accelerating there. What that means is that the speed might go from 0 to 350 FPS, but then if you have no more air, it won't rise anymore. It'll stay at 350 FPS and then just start traveling there. Optimally, you want to accelerate the BB all the way to the very end of the barrel and take advantage of all of the space you have of air pressure behind the BB to speed it up. That means you need enough air to do that. So that's why you would have more air in your cylinder. Now, if you have too much air in your cylinder, it will still accelerate the BB the whole length of the barrel. It might have some adverse, very, very small effects on accuracy and consistency, because once the BB leaves the barrel, all the excess air just kind of bursts out of it right behind, and it can affect the BB flight path slightly. But that's a different issue. That's not related to volume at all. But for the most part, in terms of Joule creep and FPS, the BB, when you have extra air, it goes away. It dissipates outside. Once the BB leaves the barrel, there's nothing forcing the air behind the BB. The pressure is released and it leaves. It's kind of like when you have a gas blowback mag, and if you ever hit the button on the back that releases the gas. Well, once that door is open, the pressure is released. It goes away. Same thing with the BB. Think of the BB as that door. Once the BB leaves the barrel, the door opens, and all the gas, all the air goes away, and it's not used. It's wasted. Now, if you were to have that same setup that had too much air, but use a longer barrel, the BB will keep accelerating through that longer barrel. And now, following this logic, what happens is that, let's say I have a full cylinder. Let's even make it better. Let's say I have a bore-up cylinder. So I have a bunch of air in my AEG, and I have a 200 millimeter barrel, a tiny barrel. And now I have a 0.3 gram BB, a random number. And it accelerates to the end, and then a lot of air is left out afterward. It's wasted. It's not used. Now I have a 250 millimeter barrel. Well, now it accelerates for 250 millimeters, so the BB is actually going at a higher velocity. Now I have a 300 millimeter barrel, and so on and so on, and that will keep going, and the FPS will keep increasing until I get the barrel length that is perfectly volumed. Once I get one, even just technically 1 millimeter, but let's say one increment of 50 millimeters, because that's when you'll start to notice the effects more a lot easier. 50 millimeters too long. Well, now the BB will stop accelerating before it reaches the end of the barrel, and not only will you see no change in FPS, like it'll stop getting greater, it will start to go down little by little because it's under volume now. You don't have enough air to push it all the way down. So now it's hitting the barrel, and there's friction on the barrel that is net deceleration, because the speed it's gaining from the pressure does not outweigh the speed it's losing from friction on hitting the barrel. So that's how that works. Now you can make that same effect by increasing the weight of the BB. Now in physics, force equals mass times acceleration. This equation is a very simplistic and basic version, has a lot of iterations that it changes into. However, you can use this idea, just the idea of it, that think of force as the force the air is pushing the BB down. Now the mass is obviously the weight of the BB, and these factors create the acceleration. That means that if you increase the mass, acceleration has to decrease, and if you lower the mass, acceleration has to increase. Now, what this means is that with heavier BBs, they accelerate slower. The rate of acceleration is slower. They gain FPS, they gain velocity slower. They take longer to reach the same velocity as a lighter weight BB. This is why when you put a new BB in your gun and it's not properly volumed, the Joule rating will go down, or it will remain the same because it messes with things. But the essence of over-voluming and Joule creep is that when I said I wanted to make it short. This is not short at all. I knew I was going to do this. It's hard to explain this quickly because the reason why this is like hard is because people don't know it and it's not explained enough. But the essence of Joule creep is that the effect I explained earlier about using the longer and longer barrel to make the BB accelerate the whole way. You can also do that by using a heavier and heavier BB. So instead of increasing the barrel weight, the barrel length, let's say we go back to that first example. We have a 250 millimeter barrel, and it's drastically over volume. We have a 0.3 gram BB. We have a full bore-up cylinder. It's wasting a lot of air. Now let's say instead of changing the barrel length or the barrel diameter so the volume stays the same, we increase the BB weight. Let's say we put a 0.32 gram BB in there. Now the 0.32 gram BB is going to accelerate at a slower rate, and it will stay in the barrel longer, using up some of that extra air. Now let's put a 0.4 gram BB in. That's going to accelerate much slower and use up most of that extra air. Even though the barrel length is the same, it's accelerating over a longer period of time. So even though, this is where it's tricky, because the velocity still might be slightly lower than the 0.3 gram BB, because it's a much heavier BB. But the Joule rating, which is the actual energy the BB carries, that's what actually makes a BB hurt and sting. It's the energy it hits you with, not the velocity. The Joule rating will go up exponentially. And this is the problem with it, because joules is basically kinetic energy. It's mass times velocity squared over 2. Mass would be in kilograms, so it would be 0.4 gram BB, divide that by another 1,000, and that's your mass. Now velocity squared over 2. But the problem is that mass is a factor. So even though the velocity is lower, the mass is much greater. Even though, really, it's not a tiny number, but in comparison, it does affect the joules, is the outcome. You can do the math. I've done it before. I'm going to show a video with my Polar Star with a tiny barrel showing you guys exactly what Joule creep is on my channel. I'll go into much more detail than I was able to do now. I already feel like I talked too much on this because it's a topic that you really need to visualize to see. But the essence is that the effect I explained with the barrels, making the barrel longer, BB accelerates longer in the longer barrel. If you have enough air to do that, it shoots harder, shoots faster. You can do the same thing with heavier BBs and a tiny barrel. And this gets back to Polar Stars. The way they chrono is because they're Polar Stars, because they naturally overvolume with an HPA gun. If you have a setup that's overvolumed and you chrono with a 0.2, you'll chrono at 400 FPS with a 0.2. Then you go out in the field and you're a Polar Star user, so you don't care. You have a Pro Win, you have a nice Miracle barrel with a flat hop, and you're going to use your 0.3 gram BBs or your 0.32 gram BBs because you're a Polar Star user. You're cool like that. The problem is because you were over volumed with the 0.2 gram BB, with the 0.32 gram BB, even if you're still over volumed, you're closer to a correctly volume setup, and your joules will go up because you're using more of that air to accelerate efficiently. And so your FPS with a 0.2 gram BB, 400 FPS, I think it's like roughly 1.4 something joules. I might be wrong, but just for the sake of this comparison, let's say it's 1.4 joules. If you were to use a 0.3 gram BB, your FPS should drop so it's still 1.4 joules. Because remember how we said the equation, velocity and mass will still equal out. They both make up joules. So if mass increases, velocity has to drop to make the same Joule rating. That's why your velocity drops with a heavier gram BB. The problem with Joule creep is that it doesn't drop enough. So when you chrono with the 0.3 gram BBs, you might be shooting 375, 380 FPS, which is like 1.9 joules. So your joules actually go up. Your velocity does not drop to the same ratio. And that's the problem, is that now you have Polar Star users that are unknowingly, or some who do know this and figure it out and do it purposely, shooting way over the limit because the field chrono with FPS and not joules. And I'm going to force myself to stop here because I talked way too long on that. And I'm sorry if you couldn't follow. I'll have another video up on it later to kind of go into more detail and talk slower and hopefully add a visual aid.
Yeah, I've been meaning to make a Joule creep video, but it's one of those things I'm neglected because I'm not sure how to actually do the entire video fully explaining Joule creep, yet
Yeah, that's
keeping
the problem
attention.
I'm running into.
Yeah, like I want to keep it under 10 minutes, fully explain Joule creep, keep
I
everybody's
can't do that.
attention. Like keep everybody's
I
attention.
hope you can. I really hope you can. There's no way I'm going to be able to accomplish that.
So, Michael, I can't find that other question I put in my notes. It was a good one too. So I'm just gonna answer a question I got recently asked on my YouTube channel, and it was how I got into teching and how I got into teching as like a business, how I got into like working on other people's guns. I guess you could say it's more of a lighter topic than Joule creep, but I mean it's one of those. It's a different style of a question, so
much less dense.
It's much less dense and much less to absorb. Like Ryan said, he has a fantastic write-up on it, I think, on AirsoftTech and KWA. So it's essentially
it's buried in there somewhere.
It's essentially scientific like data because it's peer reviewed, number one, and number two, it's all done with like testing and stuff like that, and it's very well written. So definitely, if you have some time and you want to understand Joule creep and you actually learn by sitting down and reading, then go for it because you'll enjoy it. I certainly did. So
thank you, Ryan.
Yes, I actually read the entire thing.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Corey just replied TLDR.
My family was like driving somewhere and there was like this massive traffic jam, so I just pulled up my iPad and read it. So.
Well, I'm glad I was able to help.
Thank you. So my question, how I got into teching and how I got into teching as like helping other people, and like working on their guns. I've answered the how I got into teching question a long time ago, but I don't think I ever answered on how I got into doing it for other people's guns. So one day, I forgot what like how old I was. I think I was like 12 or 13, something around there. So I was at my house. I was in my room looking at my new Echo 1 P90. I was so happy. I just got it in the mail like a week ago from that time, and so we were about ready to go to Walmart, my mom, dad, and I, and go like food shopping, the stuff I hated. And so my mom had to go to the bathroom, my dad was doing something in the garage. So, we were just kind of like, I was just kind of hanging out waiting for them to go. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take my P90 apart. In the 15 minutes I had, really bad idea in retrospect. So I took it apart, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, this is pretty easy. For those who don't know, the P90 is a version 6 gearbox, which is probably the easiest one to assemble and disassemble, because the trigger housing is outside the gearbox as opposed to inside, and so there's a lot of stuff going on for it there. But anyway, I took it apart, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was like, wait a second, I looked at how this worked, and I was like, that could be better probably. And I checked the air seal, like I was just like, this thing works by compression, air seal and all that stuff. So I took it, and I just checked the air seal. I was like, it's kind of poor, and I was like, the gears are kind of rough, and they don't really spin well, it doesn't seem right. So I was like, this is kind of strange. So I had it all taken apart, and I kind of lost track of time, and so I stuck it all into a little box, like, neatly, put it in there. I didn't just throw it in there. And I went to Walmart, and I was just thinking, and I got on my phone, and I searched, like, airsoft stuff, and I found Airsoft Society. So I joined the forum there, and I started reading some documents, like just small little stuff, like how to shim and this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, I knew that'd be a thing. Or I read an AOE guide, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I went home, and I immediately started trying to do all that stuff. And as you can imagine, it resulted in several errors where I just couldn't get my P90 back together, or like I couldn't get the shimming right and all this stuff. So after an entire week of working on it and working at it, I got it working right. And so I got it working better than before. I thought, like, it sounded better, it shot harder. Like, I didn't have a chrono then, but it went through both sides of the pop can. So it was definitely shooting over 350. So I knew that much. And I was really happy with it. So I bought upgrade parts for it. I did this and that. I put Deans on it. I felt great about myself. Got it shooting faster, harder, and all that stuff. And then I bought another gun, and then I worked on it. Like, I didn't even test fire before I, took it apart. And so I upgraded it, and then it shot like 40 RPS. My P90 shot 30. Like, it was great. And so a couple friends asked me to do the same thing to their guns. So I, got their guns, and one of them was a D-Boy Scar, by the way. And I got it shooting 30 RPS, and then it was a solid gun. It was shooting like 410 with an M110, so it was pretty great FPS. And I worked on a JG-AK, JGS system, and just down the line I went working on friends' guns. And finally, I felt like I got good enough at it, and I noticed on Airsoft Society how people would actually like get guns mailed to them to get worked on. And so I was like, I think I could do this. So I started doing that, and that's pretty much how I got into it there. I mean, of course, I've had my ups and downs of like, I have been teching before at like 3 a.m. trying to get a gun working, and it just, it hasn't worked. Like, stuff just goes wrong. And so issues arise, and I'm not a flawless tech by any means. I'm not the 420 Blaze at flawless tech, kind of person. So, but I do consider myself a very confident person when it comes down to teching, and when it comes down to working on these guns in general and dealing with them. Like, I fix guns on the field whenever I go, play airsoft. If some little kid's gun breaks down and the field there wants to charge him like, $50 just to look at it, and I just tell him to let me see it, and I, adjust the motor height and it works. So, teching, in my opinion, is one of those things that's very satisfying to me because I've always liked to help people. And whenever I go to a field and I see a kid's gun, it's messing up or it's broken, I fix it for him, free of charge. And, just the look on his face or the look on her face when they're excited that their gun is working and all that stuff, and some guy just fixed it for free. It's a really good feeling. And just getting my hands working on guns and getting a good result out of like really hard work really makes me happy too. So it's both those things that make me want to be a tech and make me still want to do it and all that stuff. So, but the definite the fact that these guns are mechanical got me into teching. I really love mechanics. So that's kind of my short story. And but the older I get, the less and less time I have for it. So kind of disappointing there, but oh well.
Kind of like an adverse to that is that it wasn't because the guns were mechanical is why I did it. I did it because I was interested. Like, I had a really crappy gun. I had a D-Boy Scar, which I wanted to turn into a better gun. So I wanted to learn how to do it myself because I couldn't afford to have a tech do it. And then it was because I had this interest in fixing my airsoft gun, I learned that I liked this mechanical thing. And I liked learning about the pieces and how it worked and how they went together, how to improve it. It led me to electrical. I still remember when I was learning the electrical systems of the gearbox, I think Charlie was actually the person who was teaching me how MOSFETs worked. When I was a lot younger, he was exposed to it before I was. He was able to pass down the knowledge he had just learned to me, and it was like a chain reaction. But it was through Airsoft that I started to learn that I liked these kind of things. Like, I liked the mechanical, I liked tinkering, I liked electronics, and now I'm applying to all these colleges, and I'm applying to be either for an engineering major in either a mechanical or an electrical engineer as my course of study. And it's weird, like, when I traced it all back, it was my tinkering with my airsoft guns is what really started this and got me interested into those fields, which is now having an effect on the rest of my life. So it's kind of weird how it worked.
Right, it's really interesting. I think that without, like, even if I was just in airsoft and didn't play airsoft as a tech, I think my life would still be vastly different because, like, I look back at it and I've gained a lot of critical thinking skills and like mechanical knowledge skills of how things work. Like how just things work in general, like how motors work. Like a while back, my dad's AC truck fan broke down, and so I was like, okay, this is kind of strange. So he had it on his workshop, like the motor, and it wasn't working right. So I took it apart and rewound it and fixed it all up for him, and it actually worked. Like, I was really proud of myself for doing that. And for those of you who know what an AC motor fan looks like, it's a lot different than an airsoft motor. Like, there's 6 or 7 different like sides to it, but the wires are much thicker, so it's easier to wind and all that stuff. And plus it doesn't take much energy or amps or voltage whatsoever. So the leads are just kind of stamped on there. They're not like soldered on or anything. So I just peeled them off and like rewound it, cleaned it, and all that stuff, and it worked fine. And so I was super proud of myself, and I would not be able to do that if I had not got into airsoft teching. And so like just issues like that, I can problem solve and troubleshoot by just thinking about it. And so I'm not going to say that I would be completely devoid of any critical thinking skills without airsoft teching, but I can owe a large portion of my critical thinking skills to airsoft. The other part, large majority of my critical thinking skills belong to like video games that really hated me, like Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.
Oh my God, Dark Souls! That game taught me so much.
Like,
that game wrecked me so hard every single day, and I kept going back. I had to conquer it.
I remember when I was like
so stubborn.
I remember when I was like 10 and I played Halo 1 and I just couldn't beat it on Legendary. And I finally did. And my older brother was like so proud of me. That was like the moment in my life that I thought I was a man.
I have conquered the world.
I felt so great. But like, yeah, that's my little airsoft teching story. So, yeah, that's our Q&A session as well. So, it's about time for us to wrap this up. We're at about an hour and 15 minutes or so. So Ryan and I have been Skyping for much longer than this though, because we've been just kind of like talking and hanging out. But
we gotta catch up a bit.
You gotta catch up, yeah, right. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode of this Airsoft Mechanics podcast. I accidentally called it the AirsoftTech podcast earlier, and so I had to go back and change that. But almost said it again. So yeah, this
Caught yourself too. You introed it. The AirsoftTech pod. Oh wait, that's not what we call it anymore, isn't it?
Yeah.
To restart.
So yeah, we actually restarted to reshoot it, guys. You'd be really proud of us. Like we actually went back and caught an error.
We care.
The motto: we care. But
yeah, it's getting good. So recap. This is all going down. Hopefully next week we will manage the video portion of this. Good luck to us. Good luck to you guys. Hopefully we'll see it. And stay tuned to our channels. I know Ryan's been putting out some videos. He's gonna put out some more. I've been putting out some gameplay videos. I just went again today. I BB Wars it up. I will have some more gameplay videos for you. I have a lot of really cool gameplay videos actually, which were weird game types, like civil unrest game type, where there is guards on an embassy who have to defend against mobsters and weird things like that. Just weird games that I had a lot of fun playing. Plus teching everywhere. I have 6 builds on my list, plus a customer gun, which I will be doing within the next week. So I have a lot of stuff to talk about and upload. And like I said, I'm trying to do that Joule Creep video, which hopefully I can get done and kind of give you guys a visual aid to what I'm talking about, which will, I know will help some of you, because like my brother, he's a visual learner. I can type a book for him and a guide on how to do something, and he still won't absorb it as well as if I just make a video for him or pull him in my room and just show him what I'm talking about visually, and then it'll absorb much better. So I'm hoping that works for you guys.
See, I'm one of the people that are like blessed from heaven above to be able to learn from reading and like seeing. So, like, I am blessed beyond belief there.
I can do anything and learn.
I mean, I was homeschooled and I went to private school, and now I'm in college, so I think I can do it.
I have conquered the world.
So
I have beaten.
So that is.
I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up our podcast. Like I said, we're probably at about an hour, 25, hour 30 right now. So that's a pretty good podcast. We used to try to keep it under an hour, but under 2 hours is definitely what we're shooting for now. So, because we just ramble too much. Sorry about that. But
sorry, yeah, I get like an hour and 10, and we always go over what we say.
See, there's probably like 20 minutes of good content here, and the rest is like filler.
The rest is us talking and telling stories and talking back and forth.
Yeah, somebody's gonna make a YouTube channel called like the AirsoftTech and like Legacy Airsoft edited and good, like actual information.
Take an hour and a half podcast, cut it down to 7 minutes.
Pretty much. So we will see you guys probably next week. Hopefully we'll have the video format up and everything will be running there. And we're planning on having a guest as well. Like I said earlier, we're going to be having the show set up to where we have just us, like Ryan and I, and then we're going to have a guest. And then we're going to have just us again and then a guest. So it's going to go back and forth. And so it'll be a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more predictable, and a little bit more just enjoyable for the audience. So that's what we're shooting for, and that's what we're hoping for. So, but until then, we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.